Kia ora everyone, it has been a very busy couple of weeks here on my end of things, so busy in fact that I missed the initial reveal of one of my most anticipated sets of the year, the LEGO X-Mansion. I understand that by now everybody probably has an opinion on this thing, but I have waited 12 years for this thing, so I really wanted to get my opinions out there on video format, because I really wanted to ask the question, is this worth the 12 years of anticipation? In my opinion, truth be told, I don't think so. It does have some rather excellent highlights though that are worth discussing, and here's how I think I'm going to do this. I want to first cover the initial reveal first, and I want to look at the important information like the info of the price and the release date. I then want to cover the build and compare to what I initially wanted to see, discussing the improvements and the hits and misses. We'll obviously cover the minifigures because they are incredibly important for this set. There's a lot of great inclusions here and some truly awful ones as well. And then I want to discuss my general thoughts in regards to the average consumer, which is likely you and me. I want to talk about the Marvel Modular D2C sets and kind of compare it with all those, and talk about if it really was worth the wait. I got timestamps down below for all those interested if you just want to jump around to certain subjects that interest you more than others. Liking this video and subscribing to the channel here does help to support more videos like this one in the future. So important information first here, this here is set 76294 X-Men the X-Mansion, which releases this year on November 1st for all VIP members and November 4th I believe worldwide, so that's only in like another week. 3,093 pieces in total with 10 minifigures, maybe about 6.5 of those being actual exclusives. We'll discuss all of that later. The set here retails for the price of 330 USD or 550 NZD, which was the first of a couple of blows for me. Now, if I take a look at the official LEGO site here, the site claims that this is based around the popular X-Men 97 animated series, not just X-Men in general. And that's great news for me, because the animated show does use a lot of the exact definitive comic designs that appeal to me. It's rather confusing though, because there is a lot going on here that wasn't represented in the show whatsoever. And I'm not complaining, I am just making an observation. So let's look at that build there. Months ago now, I'm talking January of this year, I made this video here which was titled My LEGO X-Mansion, in which I detailed the exact perfect build that I really wanted to see from this much anticipated set. For those who didn't catch it, the gist here is this: I wanted it to capture something that was similar to the Home Alone house. That's not much of a mansion in design, especially when you compare it to minifig scale, but I thought that it would be an affordable set, and that's affordable in quotations. Ultimately, I just wanted this thing to have a house-like structure while still being less than the Avengers Tower and the Daily Bugle. This here is my really shoddy breakdown on how I wanted the interior to look inside the mansion. I felt like the Home Alone house just had a decent enough foundation to start out with. I used images from the LEGO Ideas X-Mansion submission from years ago to showcase the visual look for the viewers at home. Now, the main rooms that I really wanted to see here was a classroom and Professor X's office on the ground floor. Upstairs, I would have liked to have seen a dorm room for the students, an easy walkway, and then some sort of a mid-bay lab-like area for our heroes. The upstairs area I thought would work for a Cerebro and a danger room. My design didn't need to be followed perfectly, these were just essentially what I wanted to see included with the final build, in any way, shape or form that LEGO felt would best suit the set. This then leads to the price point that I had in my mind, and by my estimates, I think that I said it would be perfectly balanced at the $300 USD price point and 500 NZD price point. The main reasoning for this was that I think that the mansion needed to be a far ways away from the Sanctum and the Bugle's price point. For those who aren't aware then, the Sanctum is priced at 400 NZD, while the Bugle is priced at 560 NZD. More on those comparisons later, but essentially, I thought that it would benefit LEGO greatly by keeping this thing as far away from the Bugle as they possibly could. LEGO has opted to ignore that warning and have priced this at just $10 less. Again, comparisons later on in the video, but that was a big red flag for me. So what does the build look like then? The build here splits away into a modular-like style design. It fits the builds for the previous Marvel Modular sets, so it shouldn't be that surprising to anyone, even though I didn't predict this. It appears as though we've got 6 rooms in total, judging by this image here, and the rooms all appear to be roughly the same size as one another, and the build also appears to feature a symmetrical design. It doesn't look like the roof offers a whole lot of playability there. It's possible that there is no interior space there. Now, if you ignore my request of wanting a walkway-like area, it actually looks like the number of rooms here does ultimately match what I was wanting to see in the final product. So far so good. Now the images revealed here don't really show off the best looks for the interior unfortunately, but that does mean that there is still a couple of surprises there to be discovered if I ever build this thing. It does look like that one side of the building here is completely dedicated to the danger room, so much so that the second level doesn't even have a floor base, so already I'm definitely not going to be getting all of those rooms that I was wanting to see. The middle section here does feature the entranceway, which I could count as like a dormitory sort of thing, or like a hangout space essentially. It's pretty small, it definitely doesn't fit the same scale as the Sanctum Sanctorum's amazing entranceway, and that is a problem because that building there is really just a home for 2 wizards, and this here is a school for many. It looks like the above section here features what starts out a lab of some kind. I can see some pretty cool stickers there, including apparently a map that features New Zealand. Hey! We also see Professor X there sitting in this room with a Cerebro-like helmet. It matches the style of the comics and the TV shows where the helmet is just something that he shoves under his desk. It's a separate thing that he can just take with him. But I really like the style in the movies of having it be its own dedicated room, and I think that should have been incorporated into the danger room instead. Now the other side of the building here features the start of a library section, and I think that that's a really cool inclusion. It's one that I wasn't even considering, so I am happy to see it here. And then we have what this set labels as a classroom, but just looking at it here, it kind of just looks like another hangout space. It's cool to see more hangout spaces. I did want to see something like that, but I also wanted an actual classroom that could fit more than just 2 people. The upstairs room there finishes the lab. It slightly extends over a little into another room, which I do like to see. It makes it stand out a bit more, and then it looks like we have an actual dormitory, and it features some beds there for the students or the teachers to crash in. Awesome to see. So really, I more or less did get what I wanted here. Granted, the rooms are a lot smaller than I had wanted to see. I'm not so satisfied on the classroom. Professor X's office is kind of just like scrambled around the bunch of rooms. He just kind of hangs out in some areas. I do really like the library though. I think the lab looks really cool too, and the entranceway, while small, is still granular in its aesthetic. The biggest downside here though really is with its size. I'm starting to rethink my Home Alone mansion idea actually. Now the minifigures here have been a very popular, contentious point in the discussions that I've seen online. I've got many opinions for all of these figures. Let's start with these top guys here first. So we have Jean and Cyclops and Wolverine and Storm. Both Cyclops and Wolverine are reused from the X-Jet though. Scott is using some brand new legs, which does feel like a complete look compared to that X-Jet version. That set really does seem to feel a lot more obsolete when you think about what's included here with this set. Wolverine is the exact same minifigure, which is ultimately very disappointing to see because the printing on him is very weak compared to the CMF figure that released last year. Practically perfect in every way, so I do hope everyone goes out of their way for that guy. With Jean, I've got some concerns. I've heard decent enough things about the head printing on her, but both her and Gambit have their heads printed on some darker toned headpieces, and lately that has been a recipe for disaster because LEGO still have not sorted their shit out when it comes to printing on darker toned faces. Like I recently covered the LEGO Batman animated series Batmobile. That Harley Quinn figure has such tragic quality control. It just reminded me that LEGO sometimes think it's acceptable to release figures in that state. The printing is absolutely awful, so I do have my concerns reserved for those 2 figures here specifically. I refuse to start paying triple digits on figures with really awful quality control. Besides that though, I mentioned in my previous video that I desperately wanted to see her featuring a brand new hairpiece. In my heart, I think we all knew that they weren't going to do that. The hairpiece that I thought they would use would be Phoenix's one, and actually, I think that this is a weaker one to be using. It's very outdated in my eyes, so something that I think I'll have to fix on my own. Now Storm here appears to be the exact same figure from the CMF series, but with a longer hairpiece that everybody is a bit more used to seeing. I think this design here matches what you would think of when you think of a LEGO Storm. I would have liked to have seen the black suit here, given that that's what she ends up wearing about halfway through the series of X-Men 97, and it is supposed to be based on the brand new series, but whatever. These 2 I'm gonna save for last. Rogue and Gambit and Bishop and Iceman is a really interesting pairing here. Rogue is the exact same figure from the X-Jet. The printing is still really weak. I also hate that hairpiece that she uses. Tragically disappointing, and I really wanted to absolutely love the Rogue figure. Gambit here looks pretty amazing actually, I'm not gonna lie. I'll believe it when I see it though. I'm kind of sick of LEGO not doing trench coats already though. They're still just doing it printed on their torso and their legs. I have had this theory for some time that I think it is definitely something that they're going to be looking into, because once they do it, it's a game changer for Star Wars forever. Now reports are saying that the hairpiece may or may not be this one. Some images have shown the Han Solo hairpiece. I swear to God, man, if it's not this BTS one. I don't think the BTS one fits. Like, it doesn't fit amazingly well in my mind, but it is a better piece than the overused Han Solo one. He comes with some mad accessories as well for his card tricks. Like, LEGO clearly knew how important this guy would be for people, so they just went all out here. He's very good. I want to see him in person though. Bishop, easily the best figure here for the entire set. His colors are incredible. That brick-built gun is also amazing. The hairpiece, while not accurate to the show of X-Men 97, it is accurate enough to how he appears in other media and material. That's the exact depiction of Bishop that I wanted to see personally. I love that dark blue outfit that he has. He just screams that 2000s edge for me. It's the best figure by far here. And then we have Iceman, who is a very strange inclusion. Iceman does not appear in X-Men 97 in a traditional sense, but his inclusion here works for me because it does complete the Spider-Man Amazing Friends trio from the Bugle. His white design here even fits the style of that cartoon series, rather than the fully translucent blue like I think we were all expecting to see. It's pretty cool overall. And now we get to these two. First up, Magneto, again, being based on X-Men 97, Magneto appears more in his heroic House of M attire. This is easily though the suit that everybody wanted to see. I actually love it. The new cape mold as well, it's that rubbery material and it's in the purple. Magneto here looks pretty great and it is amazing to see that classic suit again after all these years. Professor X, he might truly be my least favorite minifigure released this year. I'm dead serious when I say this. I criticize LEGO regularly on their lazy minifigure inclusions whenever I think the argument is justified, and this I think is one of the worst inclusions I've seen in a set. Starting with the accuracy points here, Professor X in the new series features a very weird design that I'm not really a fan of, and clearly LEGO weren't either, so they opted for a classic look instead. That's a good decision, honestly. The brick-built yellow chair there looks really great, and that's kind of where the positives end for me. Professor X is built up of Michael Scott's torso, I think the legs maybe, and Bruce Wayne's head from 2012. Understand this really quick. I've waited 12 years for a Professor X figure to come into LEGO. And finally, after years of waiting, and literally turning from child to adult in that time span, I find out that I have had these parts to make his likeness from the very beginning of collecting. I can literally make this unreleased figure right now. I have all the parts in my collection. I've got the head and I've got the body and I've got the legs. This made me unreasonably mad for days, until eventually I just found it hysterical. It really is a funny comedy story when you think about, again, the way I described it. 12 years of waiting for the official released figure, and they include parts released from 12 years ago. I respect the troll, I guess, I don't know. The minifigure from the video game looks perfect. He's in the green, his face actually looks hopeful, like he looks like he'd be an approachable guy who wants to actually help people in this world. This figure that's officially released, I think looks terrible. Now, given that I waited a couple of days to cover this as well, I see that Jayong has actually released some comparison images for the set alongside the other Marvel D2C sets and the recently released Modular Museum, because that's the set that everybody was comparing it to. I gotta say, seeing all of these Marvel sets alongside one another, it actually does turn me away from the set. Am I the only one who feels that? I see this and I really hate the inconsistency that these sets have here. I obviously don't think everyone is living and breathing and abiding by these rules of having all of these modular things side by side next to each other, because objectively they don't fit in with one another. But I really think that this just makes for a very ugly selling point for the mansion here, and it just does a great disservice to the set. Like, I was still a little on the fence before covering this, but now I see it next to the other sets. I don't want to pay full price for this thing. I said that I would compare it to the Bugle earlier, so let's. The Bugle here contains 3,772 pieces in total, and it includes 25 minifigures and retails for 560 NZD. So there's an additional 679 pieces, an additional 15 minifigures, and all of which would be exclusive as well, because in total 18 of those figures are exclusive to that set. And it costs just $10 more here in NZ than the mansion. I truly believe that they've shot themselves in the foot with this one. I saw people talking online about the quantity versus quality of minifigures, and that is always worth considering. It's very correct. Like, the Avengers Tower, I think, kind of broke everybody's expectations when it comes to the minifigures here, because I think we get like nearly 30 figures in that set, or possibly even more. One of those is a big figure Hulk. And granted, a good portion of those figures essentially make up as miscellaneous guards, general scientist figures, civilian-like figures as well, etc. But I think the sheer number of figures included is what makes it acceptable for people that the minifigures might not be all exciting inclusions. Like, 30 minifigures is a lot. Even if you take away all of those miscellaneous figures like the scientists and the shield people, you're still left with the same amount of highly detailed main characters in that set versus the Bugle versus the Mansion versus the Sanctum, you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of X-Men missing from the set, a ton of figures are missing here, and I think they could have gotten away with giving us like yellow suited looks for characters like Kitty, Magic, and Havoc, and they could have just used the same pieces, and now we've got 3 additional minifigures. I just think the inconsistency with these sets has been really alarming since the Bugle's initial release, which at the time I imagined was supposed to always be considered a one and done set. It sure sounded like it was, at least when it released, and the success of that set showed LEGO we Marvel fans are willing to pay horrendous amounts of money if it comes to really good looking Marvel LEGO sets. I've wanted X-Men and Fantastic Four for years now. I have no doubt the Baxter Building is probably going to be next, and I'm probably going to feel the same way about that set that I feel with this one. Lukewarm at best. I don't love this set like I thought I would, and that I hoped I would. I find myself regularly arguing against spending the $550 price tag on this toy, but when it comes to things like Rivendell, I didn't even second guess myself when I bought that thing. I do hope to see some general consumer sets of X-Men released later on down the line, because this is really cool to see, but I kind of feel like I'm getting ripped off with this thing compared to some other expensive LEGO sets. But what are your thoughts on this set? Am I crazy? Do you agree? Whatever your thoughts are, you should let me know down below. Liking this video and subscribing here to this channel does help to support more videos like this one in the future. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Ka kite anō. I hope to see you all next time.